let's go ahead and start reviewing some of the topics you're going to have this week. So, the first topic is graphing linear equations, and we're going to look at these three problems. And the first one says this. The first one says, graph the following using a t-table, and you're to choose three values of x and find the y value. Okay, so the way I would do that is this way. So let me go ahead and rewrite this problem on this page here. So number one, it was 2y plus 6x equal negative 2. The way I would do that, since the direction says use a t-table, is I would go ahead and get y by itself first. So get y by itself. And so to do that, I'm going to bring the 6x over. So I get 2y equals negative 6x minus 2. And then to get y by itself, right now multiplying by 2, the opposite is to divide by 2. So divide both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1. 1 times y is y. And then I'm going to rewrite this as negative 6x divided by 2 minus 2 divided by 2. And then I can simplify this. So I get y equals negative 3x minus 1. Okay, now we're going to use a t-table. So what you're going to do now is you're going to do a t-table, and it said choose three values for x and find the y value. I would always let x be 0. 0 is always a nice number to use. So if I let x be 0, I get y equals negative 3 times 0 minus 1, and negative 3 times 0 is 0. 0 minus 1 is a negative 1. So I have the point 0, negative 1. So we're going to go ahead and plot the point 0, negative 1. Now, if you have graph paper, if you have a printer, make sure you print out a graph paper like this. So 0, negative 1 is right here. All right. If you don't have a graph paper and you're doing this by hand, this is what I'd expect you to do. It's got to look good. Still, if you do it by hand, it needs to look good. So what you're going to do is you're going to draw using a ruler, you're going to draw your y-axis, you're going to draw your x-axis, and I'm running out of space here, and you're gonna do 1, 2, 3, 4 like that. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4. Space the same. Space the same. Then 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, negative 4, and so on. That's the way you're going to do it by hand. Okay, all of you have a straight edge. You can use your ID or something. If you don't have a ruler, you can use your ID. Okay, so 0, negative 1 is here if you do it by hand. All right. Now remember, I want 3 points, so let's do another point. So let's say x is 1. So if x is 1, I get y equals negative 3 times 1 minus 1. Negative 3 times 1 is a negative 3. Negative 3 to negative 1 is a negative 4. So I'm going to plot the point 1, negative 4. Well, remember how to plot that point. So you go 1 to the right, 4 down. 1, 2, 3, 4. So 1, negative 4 is right here. Oh, I'm sorry. 1, negative 4 is right here. Excuse me. 1, negative 4. All right, now you see what happens when you do it on paper like this? It kind of, you don't see those little grids like you do here. So 1, negative 4 is right here. Now remember, I said 3 points, so don't stop there. Make sure you follow directions. Always follow directions. The direction says 3. Follow directions. So I'm going to this time do negative 1 just to show you what to do. So if x is negative 1, wherever you see the variable x, I substitute negative 1. So I get y equals negative 3 times negative 1 minus 1. A negative 3 times a negative 1 is a positive 3. 3 minus 1 is 2. So I'm going to plot the point negative 1, 2. So negative 1, 2 is right here if you do it on paper like this. If you do it here, negative 1, 2 is right here. Now remember, you're graphing a linear equation. So remember, a linear equation, then the word linear is the word line. So this is a line. So those 3 points I plotted, they all better lie on the same line, and they do. So you see they all lie on the same line. Now, let me mention this because some of you can be very upset about this. If all you do is this and you don't draw your arrows, you're not going to get all your points. Draw your arrows. You're drawing a line. A line extends. If you don't draw the arrows, it means you're looking at a segment. All right, so make sure you draw your arrows. Don't get upset because you forgot to do that. And if you do it here, this is what it looks like. Now you see how I did it by hand, so it doesn't look like these are all on the same line. So that's what happens when you do it by hand like this. It doesn't quite work out the best way. Okay, so that's how you do that one. So that's number one. All right, now let's look at number two. So let's see what number two said. Okay, number two said this. Number two said, graph the following using the slope and y-intercept. Graph the following using the slope and y-intercept. In your work, indicate the slope and the y-intercept, then graph. All right, so let's remind ourselves about something. So remember slope-intercept form? Slope-intercept form? And if you don't remember that, it's all in the lessons. It's all in the lessons. If you don't remember that, just go through the lessons. But slope-intercept form, remember, is this. Y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b. So whenever you get y by itself, the coefficient of x is the slope. That's your slope. And this constant is your y-intercept. The y-intercept. And remember, the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. Okay, so if I go back just to show you something, if I go back to number one, you see when I asked you to get y by itself, this is slope-intercept form. You wrote in slope-intercept form, and once it's in that form, you can right away determine the slope and the y-intercept. But remember, number one, though, I didn't say use the slope and the y-intercept. I said use the t-table. So make sure you follow directions. I need to see that t-table when you do that worksheet. Make sure you follow directions. But let me remind you about this. So if I have y equals 2/3 x minus 2, let's say, this is slope-intercept form. That's slope-intercept form because y is by itself. This number right here is the slope of the line. This constant, -2, this constant is your y-intercept. All right? And the slope, remember slope is rise over run. And that's what we're going to use. Slope is rise over run. So as you go through the lessons, you're going to see in those lessons the notation rise over run. So in this case, I just want to show you, in this case, the slope is 2/3. And so that means this. That means that the rise is 2 and the run is 3. Rise over run. And so if I were to use a grid, I'm going to use this grid here rather than using something we draw by hand. I'm going to use the grid, and whenever you're graphing a line using slope-intercept, the first thing you're going to do is plot the y-intercept. Plot the y-intercept. Then the second thing you're going to do is use the slope to find the other point. Okay? So watch how easy this is. Very easy. So my y-intercept's -2. -2, not 2, -2. Make sure you keep that sign with it. So to graph this line, you got to plot 2 points. You're going to plot the first one, which is a y-intercept, and to get the second one, you're going to use the slope. So here we go. So my y-intercept's -2. Now remember, y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis. So here's my y-axis, here's -2. And from this point, from this y-intercept is where I use rise over run. Now remember, And if you don't remember this, it's going to be in the lessons, but remember if the slope is positive, the line rises. If the slope is negative, the line falls. So this slope is positive, a positive 2/3. So when I graph it, it better be doing something like this, right? It better be rising like this. If it were negative, it would fall from left to right. It would look like that. Okay? Now, so let's talk about how to find the other point. To find the other point, which is the slope is 2/3, 2 is your rise, 3 is your run. The numerator is your rise, the denominator is your run. They're both positive. That's important. They're both positive in this case. So here's what we do. We go to the y-intercept. I do the rise first. So rise says I go up 2, 1, 2, and the run is where you go left, right. The run is positive, so I go to the right 3. So I go up 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. And so I plot the point here. Oops, I did it wrong. I'm sorry. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3 right here. And so there's your point. So you just draw your line, and that's it. So that's how you use rise over run. That's how you use slope and y-intercept. All right, so let's go ahead now and do these. So let's look at 2a. So 2a is this. All right, 2a. And I'm going to go ahead and put those in Canvas sometime tomorrow. I'll put these notes in Canvas so you'll have access to it. So 2a is this, 3x minus 4y equals negative 12. All right, now remember what the direction says. The direction says graph the following using a slope and y-intercept. So if I'm going to use a slope and y-intercept, I've got to get y by itself. All right, so there are a couple ways you can do this. You can go ahead and subtract 3x from both sides, just like this. And if when I do that and combine like terms, this is 0. So I get negative 4y equals, and then negative 3x minus 12. To get y by itself now, I'm going to divide both sides by negative 4, just like this. Okay? And then I'm going to simplify this right here. Don't leave it like this. Make it look better. So negative 4 divided by negative 4 is 1. 1 times y is y. And then I get negative 3x divided by negative 4, just like that, minus 12 divided by negative 4. Don't leave it like this, and here's why. You need to know that a negative divided by negative is a positive. So this is going to be 3/4 x. You need to know that a negative 12 divided by negative 4 is a positive 3. Okay? So there's your slope-intercept form. All right, now remember the direction says this. In your work, indicate the slope and the y-intercept. So here's what I mean by that. So you're going to say this. You're going to say slope equals, remember the slope is a coefficient of x, so that's 3/4. And the y-intercept, call it b if you want to, b. So b equals a positive 3. All right, now let's go ahead and graph it. So here's how you're going to graph. Very easy now. So very easy. You're going to, remember to graph this line, you need 2 points. Your y-intercept, remember that's your y-intercept. The y-intercept is one of them. So the y-intercept here is a positive 3. So you're going to go positive 3. That's right here. So that's where the graph crosses the y-axis. Also remember, the slope is positive, right? Since the slope is positive, my line's going to rise. It'll do something like this. And the slope is rise over run. So remember, rise over run. So rise 3, run 4. So from your y-intercept, I'm going to go up 3 because it's positive. 1, 2, 3. And then to right, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And there are my 2 points. And then, and if you want to do more points, I just want to remind you, if you want to do more points, you just keep going. Up 3, 1, 2, 3, right 4. 1, 2, 3, oops, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. See, they're all on the same line, right? And you could do the same thing here. Instead of going up 3, go down 3. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. See, they're all on the same line. But you just needed these two, and that's what most of you would do anyway. All right, so don't forget your arrow, though. Make sure you draw your arrows. All right, so that was number 2, 2a rather. So that was 2a. I'm going to put this as 2a. And 2a, remember, was 3x minus 4y equals negative 12. All right, let's look at 2b. So 2b, they're asking you to graph 3 halves x plus 3y equal 18. All right, 18. Let's go ahead and make this. Well, that's fine. Oh, I'm going to change this a little because that 18 is going to be too big. Maybe I'm going to leave it like that. See what happens. I may have to come back and change it because I want it to be within here. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so here's how you're going to do 2b. So you have 3 halves x plus 3y equal 18. Okay. Now, notice there's a fraction, right? And you had fractions the first week of school. And you know that when you have an equation and there are fractions involved, you want to clear the fractions. So right now you're dividing by 2. So let's go ahead and multiply both sides by 2 to clear the fractions. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and do it this way. I'm going to go ahead and rewrite this over. I'm going to put that in parentheses, multiply by 2, and then 18 times 2. So I'm going to distribute. And so I get 2 times 3 halves x plus 2 times 3y equals 18 times 2. So I multiplied this by 2 and this by 2. That's what you see here. Now remember, the 2's divide out, right? And so this is just 3x plus, and then this is 6y equal, and then this is 36. 18 times 2. Now this is easy to deal with. So this right here looks just like this. Okay? So let's go ahead and get y by itself. We're going to put it in slope-intercept form. So I'm going to subtract 3x from both sides. And when I do that, I'm going to get 6y equals negative 3x plus 36. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 6, just like this. And then I'm going to rewrite this over. So 6 divided by 6 is 1. 1 times y is y. And then this becomes negative 3x divided by 6 plus 36 divided by 6. And then simplify, guys. You got to make sure you simplify this to make things so much easier for yourself. Negative 3/6 is negative 1/2, right? So this becomes y equals negative 1/2 x. 36 over 6 is just 6. And so therefore the slope is a negative 1/2, coefficient of x, and the y-intercept is 6. Now we can graph it. So to graph it, remember the y-intercept is one of your points. So that's positive 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 right here. Now you see how the slope is negative? So when I apply the other point, it better do something like this, the line. It better fall because the slope is negative. And so this time I want to show you something. This time the slope is negative 1/2. Remember, the numerator is your rise, the denominator is your run. The rise is negative. Since, remember, rise means go up and down. Since rise is negative, I'm going to go down. So I'm going to go down 1, and then the run is positive, so I'm going to go to the right 2. Go down 1, right 2. And so there's the other point. And notice, oops, I didn't draw it very well, but notice there's a line. Okay? And so that's how you can do this worksheet, this lesson. So this lesson is not a difficult lesson. It's fairly simple to deal with. But that was topic 8, part A. Now we're going to look at another topic. But let me go ahead and turn this one off.